Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? So here we are on this day of days, 30 years since it all went down in Essex town. And I've popped on here just to say hi and to commemorate this day. It's been quite a week. And the whole Essex boys press is out today. It's in everywhere. It's in the Sun, it's in the Mirror, it's in the good old Evening Echo in Essex. I don't think it's called the Evening Echo anymore. I think it's just called the Echo, the Essex Echo. But yeah, there's lots been talked about. So I'm just going to see what everybody's thinking, really, and say hi. I haven't been live for a long time, and loads of people have been joining the Essex Boys Truth 1995 group on Facebook that I set up. I only set that up actually because I got kicked out of the other one. I was like, maybe I'll just set up my own one. Here we are, 18 months later, something like that, a year and a half later, and loads of people have been joining it. So first of all, anybody that is in that group, thank you. We are starting quite a community. There's obviously still an awful lot of, how shall I put it, upset, confusion, and an awful lot of, well, there's quite a lot of aggro still going on, a taste of aggro, I believe, which I think we could really do without. We're 30 years down the line. But I can say that Tony Tucker, Pat Tate and Craig Rolfe's energy, well, I think it's never been stronger. What do you think? So good evening. If you have just tuned in, come and say hello in the comments. I'm streaming live on X, on YouTube and on Rumble, hopefully. So wherever you are tuned in, if you can let me know everything's sounding good and it's all looking okay. You can see my Christmas tree in the background. I've got a real Christmas tree this year. And so yeah, just let me know it's all going well and you can hear me all okay. So it was tonight we were supposed to have Brian Rolfe, who is Craig Rolfe's brother. So if you have tuned in for Brian, I'm sorry to disappoint you, and it's just me. And so I have just popped on really to kind of commemorate the day, maybe have a minute silence, and see if anybody's got any questions and comments and wants to ask them. So if you have, drop them in comments, and I'll see what I can do without getting myself into trouble. So what does everybody think about all of the press that's been going on, eh? So let me just show a little bit. So, why do the Essex Boys murders still grip people 30 years on? This went out on the good old BBC. The BBC, not everybody's friend. They have obviously been responsible for an awful lot of misinformation over the years, and they put this out this morning, and I put it into my Essex Boys group and say, why do people still care? You know, obviously there's awful lot more things that we can care about in the world, and awful lot more things that we should be worried about. But I genuinely believe that the reason that we kind of still care and everybody's still talking about it, the biggest reason is because of the amount of lies and the amount of deception and the amount of corruption and injustice that's gone on. And there's some people that have just been making so much money out of it and making careers out of it. And at the end of the day, it was 3 guys that got shot dead. Now, I know a lot of people can go, they deserved it. They've played with fire. And, yeah, you play with fire and you run the risk. They were being bad guys, and they had done an awful lot of crime. And so yeah, they were really playing with fire, and they did get burnt. But that's not to say that that's that anybody deserves it. I don't believe that anybody should take anybody else's life. It just lowers yourself. It lowers anybody to the standards of a murderer, and nobody should condone that at any time. Respect is a big thing when we are talking about people's deaths. And so whatever you think about people, oh, here comes the cat to join us. Whatever you think about people, then respect does need to be shown. Obviously, if you didn't like them beforehand and you had beef with them, then I don't expect you to like them and all of that. And yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. If you think that they deserved to die, then that's fine. You know, I didn't personally know the guys. I did have quite a few friends and people that I associated with that did know them an awful lot better than I did. But I think the kind of learning and the understanding of why it all happened and why there was so much corruption and why we are still talking about it is the reason that we need to keep on investigating it, because injustices across the board happen all the time. And I think now, as time goes on, we're really seeing through so many of these injustices. We know we've been lied to for the last 30 years, etc., etc. So I'm going to try and stop my cat from meowing, because she's just woken up and I can't shut her in the other room because she wouldn't like it. So let me see, have we got any questions? How well did you know the three? Well, like I said, I didn't know them personally. I'd never heard of them. Come on. No. Just try and ignore the cat. That goes their tail. Excuse my cat. My cat always wants to get involved whenever I do anything live on the radio or I do anything live on stream. She always wants to get involved because she is a little superstar. Go on, off you go. So, like I said, I didn't personally know them, but obviously when everything happened, everybody was like, did you know them? Did you know them? And my boyfriend knew one of them. Tony Tucker and Pat Tate were 14, 15 years older than me. So they weren't hanging around with us young ravers. Craig Rolfe was a bit younger. I kind of recognised his face a little bit more when it came out, but I did not personally know them. But I know lots of people that did. I've talked to many people, and so much was talked about locally. And you know what? When you're local, when you're kind of born and bred from that area, then it's not just about, or it is about who you know, but it's about who you know who knows them. And you can never know somewhere like you do when you're a local. That's why sometimes when you got people that have kind of descended from Wolverhampton and places like this, and, you know, narrating Essex things in Brummy accents doesn't really work for me, you know. You never know a place like you do when you're born and bred from there. I am born and bred Rayleigh girl. So, why am I involved in this? Well, I'm not, you know, I wasn't involved in the murders and I wasn't involved in any crime, apart from popping the odd thrill as you do. But I did work at Raquel's for around about 6 months, maybe a month less. It's so hard to remember exactly how long because they're such hazy memories. It's 30 years ago. It was just one of the many jobs that I did. But obviously, I remember it well because of everything that happened when I was working there. So Ryan Harris, hello to you. And you have asked, did the three men go clubbing a lot? I believe they did, yes. In the Epping Forest Country Club, yes. So this is something I would like to, I have tried to make clear in the past. Hold on, let me get myself up. Let me remove the BBC. Here I am. So, something I've tried to get over is clubs, and different clubs have different clientele. And I've been working in clubland ever since. I became a club promoter and a DJ agent and a manager for the last 25 years, and it became my career. And Raquel's was actually my very first job in clubland. And Raquel's was in the 80s. I think the 80s was really the actual venue's heyday, and Raquel's was then Raquel's One, and people like Depeche Mode and kind of 80s people were playing there. Obviously Depeche Mode from Basildon. So Raquel's, I believe, was good in the 80s. I wasn't going there because I was too young, obviously, at the time. And I also lived in Rayleigh, which was near a South End, so I didn't really go out in Basildon. I moved to Basildon when I was 21, and Raquel's had started a night called Loveland, which was Perfect Virtue's sister night. And I used to go to Perfect Virtue, and that's why I ended up working at Raquel's. Now, Raquel's, this is not me slagging off Basildon or anything like that. You know, I bought a house there, I lived there. But Raquel's was rough. It was known as having a rough door and being a bit rough. And it was also known as very, very young. Now, by 1995, when I was working there, it was very young. And when I look back on it, I realised that actually I was one of the older, younger ones, if that makes sense. So I was 21 when I was working behind the bar. And it was a really, really young crowd in there. There was an under 18s night, I know, in the week as well. But it was just a very, very, very young crowd. Mark Murray was the guy handing out the thrills at my bar, at the bar I worked at. And he stuck out because he always used to wear Hawaiian, like a flash shirt. And I've been quoted as saying he was flash. So I don't mean flash like as in loaded and had loads of money or anything like that. Just as the fact of he was a guy with everything, and he used to wear Hawaiian, flash Hawaiian, flashy shirts. He stood in the same place every week. But he was kind of a bit older as well. For anybody that was raving in those days and clubbing in those days, you really would know the difference between a group of, well, you still would, a group of 21-year-old clubbers or 18-year-old clubbers, and then a group of like mid-30s guys. So Tony Tucker was a doorman at Hollywood and running security there. And Hollywood was a much older club, so it was a much older crowd. Yes, there was lots of youngsters going there as well, but it was a much older crowd. And Epping Forest Country Club, Atlantis and the Jungle, they were epic nights, and an older crowd would go there. But the difference with Epping Forest Country Club was the actual country club side. When you walked down the driveway at Epping Forest Country Club, which I'll never forget, and they were crazy nights, when you walked down the driveway, on the left-hand side was the Jungle and Atlantis. On the right-hand side was the country club. And the right-hand side was where you used to see like the EastEnders celebrities and the TV celebrities going down there and all of this kind of thing. So I would imagine in 1995, when I know Tony Tucker was mates with Nigel Benn and hanging around with that kind of fraternity, that these are the kind of places they would have been going. And so I don't really suppose that they were hanging in Raquel's on a Friday night, because the older guys were generally the doorman and that was it. And none of them were doing the door. I don't believe. Well, I'm sure they weren't at Raquel's. So by 1995, no, they were not hanging around in there. I know there's stories about Tony, I think, going to a club up in London and not getting in and kicking off. You know, in those days, people were clubbing up London, and if you got loads of money and flash cars and loads of gear and everything, then yeah, they were Hollywood, Romford, Epping Forest Country Club, and up London was the place to go. So I hope that answers your question, Ryan. Right, what else we got here? So good evening, William Wallace. Good evening, Melanie. Hello, Melanie. How are you doing? Thank you for all your support. Anthony, thank you for your kind words. It's been quite a difficult week in my world. There's been some unscrupulous stuff going on, and it's just been quite distracting, shall we say. We'll put it like that. So Anthony says the Nigel Benn connection also keeps people like Tucker's name relevant. Would you like to hear my Nigel Benn story? I once booked Nigel Benn. I remember, because I've been in the DJ world ever since, and Nigel Benn, like a few other celebrities, decided that with his boxing gloves he was going to start trying to mix. They're generally not the greatest DJs, I have to say, and I am a lover of music and a lover of the art of DJing, and I've always been a follower of music. So Nigel Benn weren't a great DJ, but I remember him well. I remember it well because whenever he came into any of the clubs when I was raving, there was always a big, oh my God, Nigel Benn's here. Oh my God. Don't know why I put on an American accent there, but yeah. So I remember Nigel Benn kind of like hanging out in the clubs and all of that. But I did actually once book, well, I didn't personally book him, but he played for my night called Scream in 2001, and my two business partners, Dan Prince and Louis G, they, in their wisdom, decided to book Nigel Benn and Sonic to play at BCM in Magaluf, in Shagaloof, and I was sent over. Well, I drew the straw to go over and run the night with old Gordon. Anybody who knows Gordon from BCM in Magaluf. So off I trotted. Gordon picked me up from the airport, and I got to BCM, and it was my first time in Magaluf, and I got to BCM with him and went straight up to the green room, and there was the most amount of copious white stuff going on. It was just this mental table, and it was an interesting night, put it like that. Sonic was doing her thing where she used to sing over the tunes, and Nigel Benn played. So obviously he went down a storm at BCM because they didn't care whether he could mix for toffee. They were just like, ooh, Nigel, you know, all of this kind of thing. So, but it was quite a night. It was actually rammed, and I just remember sitting around this table with Sonic and Gordon and Nigel Benn. It's kind of surreal, really, in Magaluf. I managed to get out alive, thank God. I'm still here today to tell the tale. But I was watching a video. I've actually got it somewhere. Oh no, I didn't save it. But I was watching a video. There's a video that's had 500,000 plays on YouTube, which is the video of Tony walking in with Nigel Benn. I think it's the Chris Eubank Nigel Benn fight, and he's walking in, and there's quite a lot of it. I'd seen clips of the little clips of it, but this one's a little bit longer. It's about 3 minutes long. but it's the longest kind of video that I've seen of Tony himself. And Tony was quite a looker, I think, in his day. He's taken a lot of stick in his death for his hairstyle. What did everybody think of Tony's hair? It, I don't like the wig that Terry Stone thinks that is his hair, and it's just like, is it supposed to be comedy? I think it's just got more comedy, like the wig's taken on a whole life of its own. But I think and isn't the wig orange? Where I think Tony had dark hair, didn't he? And from what I can see, looks like he was a bit of a casual in the 80s with a bit of a mullet, and he's got a bit of a hangover from the 80s with his kind of, and a lot of ravers did have long hair, you know. So I quite like a bit of hair on the head of a man, you know. So good. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I haven't been live for over a year, apart from with Sean Atwood the other week. So I'm just getting back into the swing of things. Matthew Maloney in the house. How are you? Did I see the Mirror today? The centre pages, there's an article. So I obviously didn't buy the Mirror because, God, when was the last time I bought an actual newspaper? I have seen the Mirror articles. Let me see. I saw the Sun article. I don't think I've read the Mirror one. The Sun article, let me see if I can share my screen. Can I share my screen? I'm still learning what to do here, so you'll have to bear with me because I'm new to StreamYard. I am new to StreamYard. Here we go. So, is that sharing? No. Oh, no, it's got stuck now. No. I've got the Wheel of Doom and I tried to share that screen, so that didn't work. We'll try that another time. The article in the Sun, I believe, is the narrative of a certain doorman, murderous Murdoch's son. Did you know I was in the Sun once or twice or 3 or 4 times on page 3. That came after that came after the Essex boys, but that's a whole other story that I'm not going to get into tonight. The articles in the press, well, the press have just been making money out of it all for the last 30 years. And that's who's kind of behind it all at the top. All the birds love Nigel Benn, says Ryan Harris. Not me, mate. Didn't do it for me. Did not do it for me. Anthony says he's proud to say that he's never watched a Rise of the Foot Soldier movie. And Anthony, I am there with you. I have never watched a Rise of the Foot Soldier movie either. I don't like crime. I don't like violence. I'm a super empath. I can't watch horror movies. I can't watch people getting hurt. I mean, even David Attenborough pulls on my heartstrings. I don't know if anybody's been watching Kingdom, but I just can't watch people getting hurt, and I don't kind of want it in my frequency. So, no, I'm not into bigging up gangsters and violence. Generally, most, especially guys, are led, groomed, or led into crime due to problems in families. Many have come from care homes. You know, we know that Craig Rolfe was born in Holloway, and he was born there because his mother was in prison for her involvement in killing their dad. Oh my God, could you ask for a worse start? Can you not give compassion to why this lad, who was 26 when he died, was bloody angry? And all that we've seen in the kind of justice system, which is not really, there is no justice, the law's an ass most of the time. All we see is punishment and no understanding and rehabilitation, and that's why people aren't learning, and that's why we get more and more and more crime going on, and there's more knife crime, and yeah, you know, we know that the world's gone a bit fucking crazy, so don't get me started on all of that lot. So good evening, Pat Tate. Pat Tate on TikTok. Thank you for sharing this picture. I'm going to share it again because I like it. 30 years today, they were taken. They were unalivened. Now, I'm not going to go into the once again into the ins and outs of they deserved it and all of this kind of thing. The bottom line is nobody should have their brains blown out, and I'm sure that they were lured by somebody that they had some level of trust for, or even thought they were meeting undercover police or somebody like that, so that they wouldn't have gone tooled up, because there's no way you'd drive down that country lane to do a deal like that without being tooled up. Or did the police take everything from the crime scene and just corrupt it completely? That's what it feels like. But I would say that these three guys are resting in power because their names have become so famous in their death and over the last 30 years that whether you like it or not, you can't really ignore it. And their energy, well, is just monstrous. So I feel like I can actually feel how large their spirit and their energy is. And I do truly believe that when people are taken unalivened and taken before their time, then this creates a energy that the universe wants truth to come to light, because these things are not supposed to happen. And that's what I believe. Whether you believe that or not, I don't know. On another note, like, I don't know if anybody saw or anybody's watched it yet, because it only went up yesterday. But I was watching David Icke and Liam Tuff's podcast last night, and David Icke's brilliant, and it's amazing how he's come back and shown everybody that they called him a nutter for how long, but he's right about so many things. I don't know what everybody else thinks about David Icke, but he has been proved right on so many things, and it was a great podcast, and it's really nice because I know, like, Liam Tuff's audience is very much, you know, like the kind of Essex Boys audience, and, you know, quite a male heavy orientated audience. And he was talking very much about, you know, the other dimensions and the astral plane and all of this. And for Guy, I mean, it was, Liam was saying, like, it was kind of way above his station, and he was completely admitting to that. But for this to be getting into the kind of wider consciousness is a huge thing for me. I've just been waiting for it to happen all these years. Just been waiting for everybody to catch up, honestly. And so I do believe that spirit lives in the astral plane, and that consciousness lives in the astral plane, and that the consciousness of these three boys is there resting. Well, it's not really resting. It's still there going, the truth needs to come to light, everything that's happened. And I feel that energy just gets bigger and bigger. Especially, you know, because of all the films and all of the things that have been said about it, and the audience is so massive that it will come to light in the end. I truly believe it will. Anthony thinks David Icke is hit and miss these days. And he's lost his insight, especially after associating with Alex Jones. Well, Alex Jones been called a nutter as well, but he's been right about a lot of things. So I am always open to have my mind changed. I'm not stubborn in that way, and like David Icke said, if you think you know everything, then you might as well give up and kind of that's the end of that. Because not knowing is the kind of what makes life still interesting. You wouldn't want to know everything. It would just be like you'd have nothing to find out. It'd be boring, wouldn't it? He lost lots of cred with lizards. Before obviously I've started the David Icke conversation now, but go and watch the Liam Tuff's David Icke podcast it was on yesterday, and just give it kind of a possibility, because he talks about all the lizard shit, as William Wallace says. He talks about the lizard stuff. He explains it really well. I mean, he talks about the reptilian brain, and we have got a bit of reptilian brain. So anyway, the dimensions, the astral dimensions, the boys are sitting there. I do believe Leo Betts' energy is sitting there as well. Call me crazy if you want, but I am pretty psychic, and I kind of find it hard to talk about because I know how people can condemn and shame people and everything, but my psychicness has got stronger and stronger and stronger, especially in the last 5 years, where death has touched my life so much. And that is kind of why I feel passionate as well about this case, because 5 years ago, my brother-in-law was found to have drowned and died on the beach. And there was an awful lot of corruption, an awful lot of state service corruption with the police, and everything that I learned from that happening to me woke me up more than anything else in my actual bloody life has. Because death actually knocked on the door in the shape of a Sussex policeman. And it was just mental. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I do know that at the end of the day, these three guys were brothers, dads, some of them sons, and the people that go, oh, they were the worst guys in the world. I don't know if they were. I think I call like Jimmy Savile, Gary Glitter and all of that lot. They're much worse in my eyes. Obviously, I didn't know them personally, but yeah, I think how bad they were has probably been inflated quite a lot, don't you think? So who thinks, so if you're in chat or if you're watching, who thinks, so I don't think Steele and Holmes are totally innocent. So Holmes and Steele went to prison for it in, I think, 1996. And I don't think they're not involved in some way, but I don't believe that they pulled the trigger. I don't believe Michael pulled the trigger myself. If this can be proved at any point, but I think if he had, it would have been proved, actually. And I don't think that they were had the ability to pull off this kind of contract killing. I believe it was a contract killing. I believe it was a contract and a few people's evil intent aligned. That is what I believe. So what else have I got to mention why I'm here? So, like I said, Brian was supposed to be doing the live stream with me tonight, Brian Rolfe. Unfortunately, for personal reasons, he has had to pull out. What I will say is there's quite a lot of other witnesses, especially people around my age, that knew quite a lot going on, especially girls as well. And there's kind of a reason why there's hardly any girls speaking out, even though there was as many girls involved as there are boys, as is always the way. But I know from personal experience, and you can see some of the stuff that has actually happened to me since I was on the Sky Murders documentary, and since I said hello in the Facebook group, is the reason why many people just like, I'm not going to tell my truth, or I'm not going to come forward, or I'm not even going to put my head above the water because there's some really not so much nice people that kind of come for you. And it really does make you think, oh, shall I bother saying anything? Shall I bother talking about it? But I'm one of those people when that kind of energy happens, I kind of pick it up, hold it, and go, so there's a reason that people have got guilt and trying to shut people down and silence people. And so it just gives me more energy to kind of throw back at them with kind of some superpowers, super psychic powers. You may not know, but my real initials are ESP, extra sensory perception. That's what that stands for. So police corruption in this case is huge. Essex police and the Met police, I believe, not working together not working together above board, working together below board in the shadows. I believe that some criminals or some nasty people and some masons, most of the people in the police seem to have all joined the club. And I'm not saying that everybody in the Masons was bad, but unfortunately this is a network of some right dodgy people with too much money. Yes, William Wallace, fuck the haters. I totally agree. So that's what I believe. I know that when evil aligns, this is when these kind of things happen. And we have to remember that this is obviously very, very premeditated. There's an awful lot of work and actually going into premeditating the murder of 3 people like this to actually get away with it, for it to be so sensational. And you only can say that Steele and Holmes, they didn't get away with it. If you believe that that's the truth and that's that, then you believe that we know everything. But I don't. And I do believe that kind of when evil aligns like this, and when an awful lot of people are having to get together to make this happen, and they have to, if you ever read crime books, or like whodunit books and murder mysteries and all this kind of thing, or murder, any kind of, I've read a lot of can't speak now, Martina Cole. I'm on the hard stuff tonight, water. I read a lot of Martina Cole and Patricia Cornwall, and it's very good at getting into here comes the cat. It's very good about getting into the mind of a psycho and a killer. Not that I like to, but it is good for that. And so when all of this was going on 30 years ago, the whole run-up, it's all being staged. It's all being meticulously planned. It's all, they're going to be able to take their phones. They're going to be corrupt the crime scene so nobody really knows what happens. and it's going to be a dodgy coroner, and it's going to be a dodgy policeman, and everything just stinks to high heaven, basically. So that's how it is. And I was raided. My house was raided. Go on. She always does this, little Alex. I was raided the week before Leah Betts' birthday party, and I believe that one of the people that was setting everybody up could have been behind this, because a lot of youngsters were raided that night. My mate in South Church was raided. I was raided, and I have been in touch with a couple of other people that were raided that exact same night. So this is what you would call a sting that was happening right the way around the area of Basildon and Southend. And this was happening, like, you know, what was that? 5 weeks before these guys got shot. And my mate was nicked with 28 apples that night. So the exact same thrills with the same motive that Leah Betts took, that was widespread everywhere. So the police had loads of these. They knew they weren't contaminated. They knew everybody was doing them. And yeah, right, I believe the whole thing was just part of the crackdown and part of demonising the rave culture, demonising ravers, and all led into the alcohol industry's big game. There's some of my conspiracy theories. As I do love a conspiracy theory, and I like to wear my tinfoil hat on regular occasions, especially at Christmas. So I've got 10 minutes left before the cat drives us all mad. Cats do rule. I am cat obsessed. I've always been a crazy cat woman. Anybody that's following me knows that or anybody that's followed me for a long time knows that I'm not just a blonde barmaid. That was just 30 years ago. I've been doing an awful lot since. There's loads on YouTube. There's loads on Mixcloud. There's loads on SoundCloud. There's loads on Rumble of what I've been doing. I do radio shows. I'm trying not to kick the cat, obviously. I won't kick her hard, just moving her away. 313 Shay in the building says, I am a cat guy and I am a cat girl, so we will get on nicely. Yeah, where was I before the cat put me off? The cat put me off. One of the biggest gangs is the police. Yes, William Wallace. One of the biggest gangs, the worst crime, I believe, is the police. Can you hear? Do you want to say hello to the audience? Come here. Come on. Come here. Come and say hello. Sorry about this, everybody. But she just meows me to death. I'm just a cat, Mum. Say meow. Say hello. Here we are. So this is Alex. We're supposed to be talking about crime and injustice. And now we've just got the cat that's crying. Even though she's had absolutely everything she could possibly want to do. Go on. Right. I've fed her numerous times. I've given her cat cream. I've given her cat cheese. I've given her all of the treats, and she's still meowing at me. But anyway, do you like my Christmas tree? Can you see it? Do love a bit of Christmas. I'm a Christmas baby. I was born on the 27th of December. So yeah, I'm right into Christmas. Right. Any questions that you would like me to answer before we wrap up for today? I just really wanted to mark this day. 30 years makes me feel old. I was 21 at the time. 21, never been kissed. No, maybe not. But yeah, 21, having an absolutely wild time. I was in 95, raving all weekend, in the week. We just had such a great time, and I really fell in love with house music at this point. And my love affair with house music. My love affair with house music has never died. That is one thing I wanted to tell everybody. If you haven't seen, I got in touch with the original resident from Raquel's. John Bradbury is his name. I loved him back in the day, and he's a great DJ, and he done a brilliant The Sound of Raquel's 1995 mix for me. So that mix is on my iStream Radio SoundCloud, and it is also on iStream Rumble. It's a brilliant old school house vinyl mix, and it is specifically the actual sound of Raquel, so kind of the Essex sound of 1995, because different clubs play different sounds and different areas were into different house music sounds, but it really does take you right back to 1995. If you weren't there, then listen up to it. I will put a link. Shall I put a link in comments? Let me see if I can get a link in comments. I'll put my group in here. Let me get this link. So that's my Essex Boys group. And let me This is my hold music. Let me find it. It's on Rumble. 1 second. And I'll put the link in comments. And do share it to your friends and follow me on Rumble. If you're not subscribing on my YouTube, why aren't you subscribing? Let me put a little banner. Look. Oh, here we go. I'm still learning here, so you have to bear with me. My first time on StreamYard. Comments, right. So there's a link to the mix for anybody that wants to get down on a Saturday night. So Jake Smith just tuned in and said, what happened to the Brian Rolfe episode? So unfortunately, Brian did pull out this week for personal reasons. I can't tell you what they are, but yeah, hopefully we'll get Brian. We will get Brian on one day. It's the second time he's blown me out. Boo to Brian. But he was well up for it, but then unfortunately he changed his mind. Well, he had to pull out. So go and tell Brian on his YouTube that you really want him to do a stream with me, and I'm sure he will. I think some people were just like going, don't do it with her, and that might have put him off as well. Who knows? Question. What was the good question? Let me see if I can answer any question. The killing of Patricia Lee Parsons is linked to the police as well. I don't know Patricia Lee Parsons one. What else have we got here? Police are the main gang. Yes, I've got proper beef with the police. Proper beef. If you look at my stuff on my YouTube channel, there's all the stuff about what happened with my brother-in-law, Timothy Wall. God rest his soul. I learned then how bad the police are. And on this Essex subject, the police, so I did a freedom of information request for the details of my raid, so why they raided me. Because I wasn't doing it, I was partying at the weekend, but for me to be raided the week before Leah Betsy's birthday party on a Friday night, just before I started work at Raquel's, was weird when I thought back on it. And I've got the warrant and everything, so I can prove that this actually happened. But I did a freedom of information request to Essex Police, and they came back and said, no, they've got no records, nothing to see here. I was like, well, I've got this warrant. They're like, no, we can't find anything. So they're just a nightmare. They are just the worst nightmare. Darren Nichols, so the Supergrass, Darren Nichols, I'm sure he was as corrupt as hell. I have got various people that know an awful lot about this case that have been researching it, that talk to me quite a lot anonymously, and I'm sworn to secrecy and all of these things. I can't say who, but Darren Nichols, the Supergrass, I think he should be brought back to court, don't we? So there is one thing that I would like to put out there, and I might just clip this so that people do see it. This case has got a huge amount of injustice, and it has never had an independent civil private investigation. And what I mean by that is an independent one that is not police officers that were involved or in any way, or anybody that could have anything possibly conflict of interest. And so I thought about whether the possibility of doing a crowd justice campaign. Now, crowd justice works in the way that we put it together and then we send it to a lawyer, and then if a lawyer is happy, then it gets picked up and all money raised goes straight to the lawyer. And I do think this would be a really good idea to actually get somewhere on a civil, in the public interest, crowd justice campaign for this case to be privately and civilly investigated and brought to court. What does everybody think about that? Good idea? Because I'm one of these people that I don't like to just endlessly talk about things like certain people have in this case. I've only just really started talking about it in the last couple of years. I'm one of those people that likes action and solutions, and I like to fix things, and I'm a bit of a rescuer. I've got a bit of rescuer mentality. So I like to see ways that we can actually get independent judicial reviews, actually do something productive instead of this massive audience, everybody talking about it and us getting nowhere. Tom Leach says it's probably too late to find out the truth. Well, it's never too late, mate. It's never too late. While we're still here, it's never too late. Sean Stobbs. Hello, Sean Stobbs. He says, hopefully one day the truth will come out. The truth always comes out in the end. It's just like the sun. It shines like the sun. The truth is actually in our hearts. So like the all-knowing, it's only the mind that's being manipulated. The truth is actually in our hearts. So yeah, I know we need the details and the finer details, but I do honestly believe that the truth will come out. I still have faith. Have faith, party people. Have faith. So, thank you for joining me, and I really do appreciate it. I'm going to be going live more often. Next year, from January, I'm going to be going live twice a week. Committed to go live twice a week. I'm not going to be doing it on Saturday night though, because it's not the greatest time to go live. I'm probably going to be doing it on something like a Tuesday and a Thursday, maybe. Does that sound good? So, if you would like to see more of me, then subscribe, share with friends, and all of that kind of thing. I really do appreciate your support. It had been quite a tough year, or it's been a tough few years, and I've been on sabbatical for most of the year, healing from losing my father and from all of the nightmares that have happened since lockdown, because it's been an incredibly turbulent time, and I'm just glad I survived, honestly. I'm glad that you're all here. Gaz Jones is in the building. Gaz Jones is late. How you doing, Gaz? So, do I think, let me just put that on here. Do I think the police was involved? Yes, mate, I do. 100% think the police were involved. I mean, there was police shagging one of the girls' girlfriend, one of the boys' girlfriends. I mean, that's a easy way for that policeman to find out what's going on with Tony Tucker, because, or is it Pat Tate? I can't remember. One or the other. It's an easy way to find out what's actually going on when you're shagging his girlfriend. It's literally the easiest way. Where they're going, what they're doing, finding these things out. She thinks she's all protected because she's shagging the old Bill. Bad times, mate. There's no way I'd be shagging any old Bill anyway. No. So yeah, big thank you to everybody, and I really do appreciate your support, and it really does help me to get my ass into gear and come and talk to you more. I have been working on a Paul Betts deep dive because I do believe that his part in the press media fanfare sensation, the fact that he was a Freemason, the fact that he was a Met officer, the fact that he pointed the finger straight away at the dealers and there was no kind of responsibleness for his daughter. He acted very, very weird, and I do believe that he has got away with an awful lot, and that he was involved. I don't believe he pulled the trigger. I don't believe he pulled the trigger, but I do know that he lied to us, and I don't believe that he was a good guy. And considering that his son's become a sex offender, then there's a good chance that he was the same, unfortunately. I'm not saying he definitely was, but if anybody would like to come forward anonymously to me, and he was all upset about Leah Betts dying, he said, but his other 3 daughters, he moved to Scotland and didn't have anything to do with them either. So all a bit dodge, mate, all a bit of dodge. So I've been trying to put this Paul Betts dive together, and I've been heavily distracted, but I'm halfway there, so hopefully I will get that out this week. And I'm going to love you and leave you. Go and have some tea, and just leave you with this picture of these guys that was sent to me by Pat Tate on TikTok. So he runs a great TikTok account, really nice guy, 30 years ago today. And we're still talking about you guys for whatever reason. So there you have it. Big love to all of you. If you want to join my group on Facebook, Essex Boys and Girls, The Truth and Facts 1995. We're trying to get the truth out. We're trying to put as many facts out as we can. So big love to you all. And I see you very soon. Let me do this little thank you. Yeah, there we go. That's me, over and out.